Listen close, you might learn something. Or laugh so hard, you split your side of something. Live stream a podcast. Whenever you tune in, it's sure to be a blast. Let's be honest, you don't wanna miss that. Content so real, you gonna wanna run it back. We keep you entertained while making an impact. Want foreign announcements? Well, this is not that. Sports, pop, culture, political. Whatever you like, we got you covered, bro. It's a movement more than just a show. It's KSBM Radio. You're rocking with the voice of Townview. We put our spin on trending topics and school news. Thought-provoking, insightful, we speak the truth. We do it for all ages, not just for the youth. Listen close, you might learn something. Or laugh so hard, you split your side of something. Live stream a podcast. Whenever you tune in, it's sure to be a blast. Let's be honest, you don't wanna miss that. Content so real, you gonna wanna run it back. We keep you entertained while making an impact. Want foreign announcements? Well, this is not that. Sports, pop, culture, political. Whatever you like, we got you covered, bro. It's a movement more than just a show. It's KSBM Radio.
To the music.
Broadcasting live from Marvin E. Robinson School of Business and Management, Dallas, Texas.
My radio station.
We are KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
Welcome to KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview. I'm your host, Dulce, and I'm here with my co-hosts,
AD, Jamal,
And Dior.
and today we have a special guest, Mr. Araiza, a respected Townview teacher from the Log Magnet. And he's originally from Jalisco, Mexico. He's teaching currently AP Pre-Calculus, and he's previously taught geometry and algebra too. He brings a unique approach to the classroom by incorporating STEM and innovation. We're excited to have you on the show today. Before we dive into these questions, do you have something to tell us before we start?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show, and I'm excited to share my life with everyone.
Of course, we're excited to.
Okay, so for the first question, we heard about your upbringing in Jalisco, Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
So I come from a big family, big Mexican family. I have 5 siblings and me, so there's 6 of us. Growing up in Mexico, there was only 4 of us, and then later on, right before we moved, my little sister was born. So we had like a different upbringing than most of the people in Mexico, because we did have our own house. My parents owned their own business, and we spent basically all day together, other than going to school for like 4 or 5 hours. So I feel like that was different than most people, because we went to work with my parents. They used to have a taco stand, and we used to like spend the day getting ready for the business, and then spending the day at the business together as a family, doing homework as they were making and selling tacos. But it was like a really good experience for me, because we had time to travel, we had time to spend time with the family, and like still focus in school and do things like that.
So how did your upbringing shape your perspective on culture, identity, and adaptation to new environments?
I mean, when I was in Mexico, we were like very closed off to like the small town. So moving to the U.S. was like a culture shock. Like we didn't see people that looked different than us, other than a few of them on TV.
like kind of sheltered in a way.
Yeah, like, because there was no African Americans, there was no Asians in our town. So that was a little bit different moving in. But I knew what it was like to like be Mexican and like embrace my roots and be, proud of who I was. So I feel like that kind of helped me bring that with me from Mexico. So when I moved, I was like proud to be Mexican and proud of who I was and things like that. So I feel like that fed into the American culture of be proud of who you are and share that with the world.
In what ways did the challenges that you encountered, like relocating to the U.S. at the age of 12, how did those impact your educational trajectory? And like, how did you navigate that?
I feel like when I moved, I was inspired to get an education. because that was one of the main reasons why our parents wanted us to move. They wanted us to have a good life, better than what they had. So that was kind of my inspiration in school. I wanted to get a college degree for me, but also for my parents. Because for me, risking your life to give your kids a better life should be worth something. So my goal was always I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a college degree, and I'm going to do something with my life. So I feel like that kind of shaped a lot of my goals, personal goals when it came to school and when it came to like my career as well, as I transition into that later.
All right. Who do you feel is your greatest like mentor, greatest inspiration for doing what you had to do?
I feel like my mom has been an inspiration for me my whole life. Like she has always been there. She has always been supportive. She has always like helped me in any way that she can. Even to this day, like every time I need something, I know I can always call her and she's a phone call away and she will help me with whatever I need. Mm-hmm. And of course she inspired me because she's literally the reason why we're here. Like she was the one that had the idea, the dream to move to the US to give the children a better life.
Okay.
So,
yeah. What made you want to get your Bachelor's of Science and Mathematics with a minor in Education and Spanish from the Texas Woman University?
So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life, there was like all these things that I wanted to do. I'm like, should I go into be a doctor because I want to help people? Should I go and be a vet because I love working with animals? And then at the end, I was like, being undocumented myself, it was like, how am I going to get the money to pay for medical school? How am I going to get the money for vet school? So I needed to find something that I will be happy with that didn't require me to spend 10 years of college and like possibly getting grants or a lot of scholarships that I wasn't probably not gonna get because of my status. So I was like, what is the other thing that I also love? And ever since I moved, ever since I was in Mexico, I was good in math and I love math. And I always wanted to do something that helped people. And I was like, what can I do that combines math and helping people and will bring me joy and I can do the rest of my life? And that's how I kind of came up with like, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy math, and I get to help kids every single day with whatever they have going on, like provide a safe space for them, a place where they can be themselves, and also teach them math or like teach them about life and teach them the things that they need to do. So that's kind of how I come up with my conclusion. And when I moved, like literally my first week in school in the U.S., one of the substitute teachers for my math teacher was like, hey, can you teach the class how to do fractions? So I feel like me teaching my first class in a whole different country in Spanish kind of like, awoken something in me that was like, this is something that you can do and something that you're good at. Seeing the little light bulb go off that first time kind of, every time I see it now, it reminds me of that day.
So you see yourself as more than a math teacher. You see yourself as someone who just teaches, like in general, teaches life skills, things of that nature.
Yeah, like I don't want to teach us math because I feel like you're doing a disservice to the students when you just teach them that one subject. Like teach them about life, teach them life skills, teach them things that they're going to be useful in their life. Like I love to share my story with my students every year. So like I always tell them, I want to teach you more than just how to add, subtract, multiply, whatever. Like, yes, that's useful, but at the end of the day, that's not what you're going to remember them by. Like, you're going to remember how they made you feel, how, like, the things that they taught you outside of the classroom.
Right. So, what challenges did you face whenever you first started teaching, and how did you overcome them?
I feel like this is going to sound a little snobby, but I feel like my biggest challenge when I started was my high expectations. Like, because I started working at a magnet school, and my expectations were like up in the ceiling. Like if I was going to a magnet school, what type of education would I want? That's kind of how I approached it. And then when I got there, it was like, maybe you should lower your expectations just a little bit. So I feel like that was a challenge. Like, this is what I want them to know. This is what I want them to be able to do by the end of my class. But whatever I wanted them to do, it was just a little bit lower than what they should have been. So a lot of the complaints were like, your class is too hard, or I can't keep up with the amount of work, or because the work is too hard and it's taking me too much time to do homework. But I feel like that's a good challenge to have, if you ask me.
So wait, you said that your first job was a magnet school. Was it this magnet school?
No, it was at Irma Rangel, which is an all-girls school, which was different than working here. So when I moved, I thought it was going to be a challenge to teach boys because I was so used to teaching girls for 6 years. So I was like, oh my God, how is it going to be when I teach the boys? Like, am I going to hit the ground running? Am I going to struggle? But then once I got here, it was like the same. Like, kids are kids. And, they learn the same way. Some of the techniques that I learned over there can be applied to both genders. So that's kind of how I saw it. And then I was like, oh, I get to grow even more because now I'm not a one-trick pony. Like, I know I can teach girls and be successful, but can I do that with everybody when they're mixed in the environment? And I feel like I've been pretty successful with both since the beginning. Like, it wasn't a struggle like I thought it was going to be. It was just that initial, like, get on there and do it. And it's been good ever since.
Okay.
So going back to your time as a student, could you tell us about specific achievements that have shaped your academic trajectory? That could be achievements or experiences.
I feel like moving to the U.S. gave me a different perspective, like having the background of the educational system in Mexico and how different they were. I feel like I was able to bring some of that with me and apply it to some of the things that people don't usually do here. Focus on personal relationships a little bit more than a lot of my teachers here did. That was kind of like my goals. Like I said before, I wanted to create a safe space for my kids where they could be themselves and they could thrive and like do all the things that they needed to do. And I feel like that I brought that with me from Mexico. Accomplishment-wise, I managed to go to Texas Women's University on a full ride. So I feel like that was a big accomplishment for me, but I also, at the same time, I didn't have an option. Like, my parents did not have the money to pay for college. They told me we can support you in whatever way we can, but financially, it is not possible for us to pay for 2 kids to go to college at the same time while paying the bills and all those things for the other siblings.
Yeah, definitely. We noticed you received a couple of awards throughout your career. Can you tell us more about them?
Of course. I've received a few. One of them was for being assistant debate coach of the year for the district, which was like a big deal. I'm not a debater. I never did debate when I was in school, but I think what the people that gave me the award saw was like my commitment to the program and the kids. So I used to be the assistant coach for both middle school and high school at my old school. So I basically was almost every weekend we had something going on, like a competition. So for me, I would like, since I can't bring the debate experience, but I can bring the cheerness and be their cheerleader or like, inspire them to do good, which is kind of what I did. And when they gave me the award, that's what they said. Like, we saw your commitment to the program. We saw your commitment to the kids. So that's why I got it. The other one was like, the other 2 were like educational for my actual teaching math. One of them was the TI Innovations Award, which came with $10,000 attached to it. $5,000 went to the school for like supplies or whatever I needed, and then the other $5,000 went to me. So I just kind of like saved them and then ended up using them for other things. Some of them were personal, some of them were education related. But at the end of the day, a lot of my money goes back to the kids. So.
Right.
So, can you share some insights into your role as a mentor and educator at Townview Law Magnet?
Yeah, ever since I got here, I've been helping the other pre-calculus teachers because some of them were fairly new to the subjects. One of them had a 1 year of experience when I got here, so I focus on mentoring her and making her a better pre-calculus teacher than what she was before I arrived. There was like a 30% jump in test scores for her specifically from the time before I got here to the time I got here. So I feel like that was one of the most impactful things that I have done since I got here, just helping new teachers develop into better teachers. Because I feel like every teacher that I have worked with here had a lot of potential, but there was still a little bit more that they could do to become better. Same thing with the kids. Like, I try to get involved with programs and things like that that will help them be better students and better people.
Okay.
What are some ways you encourage your students to continue practicing the problems they struggle with?
I mean, for me, I feel like I'm a very patient person. So like teaching them about patience pays off in the long run, because I don't want my kids to be frustrated and saying I can't do it. Like I can't, it's not a word we should be using in my class. It should be like I can, it's just gonna take me a little bit more time. So just encouraging them to go to tutoring, encouraging them to continue going. And yes, I teach probably one of the hardest math classes that they're ever gonna take in their life, but just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's impossible. Like if I could do it when I barely spoke English, like I'm pretty sure they can do it too. Because none of them have been in my situation where they moved to the US at 12 years old going into middle school and then saying like, I could have done the same thing. I said, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. Let me just give up and go work somewhere else where I don't make a difference. And I just get a small paycheck every week and then keep it going. Like, no, I have big dreams and I feel like I got to fulfill them, and I get to fulfill them every day, just working with kids every day.
Okay.
How would you say you're sensitive to the complexities of cultural and linguistic diversity within your classroom, particularly in the context of teaching math and being bilingual?
I feel like everybody has something to bring to the table when it comes to a classroom. Like all your experiences that shape you to be who you are can be brought into the same classroom. And then, you know, if we focus on the things that we share in common other than the things that we are different, I feel like you can make a bigger impact. So sharing a lot of those things with the class and being like, hey, I went through this. And then somebody that looks completely different than me can be like, oh, I went through something similar to that. Maybe not the exact same thing, but similar. And then talking and open that dialogue of like, hey, we both have struggles, different struggles, but relatable struggles. I think that's kind of have been like what I've been focusing on. Like, yeah, we might not look the same, but we share some experiences. And, you know, every year I share my story with my kids, like personal story. And a lot of the times kids that don't look like me come up to me and be like, hey, I related to this part of the story a lot. I went through something similar. And it just makes me happy to be like, hey, you're able to relate to somebody that doesn't necessarily share a lot of the same things. But when you look into the perspective, you actually share more than what you think. But talking is how you get it out and get it out there.
Okay. How do you leverage your past success and experiences to address present-day challenges in education, particularly in the context of the law magnet?
I mean, I feel like I'm always thinking about my life and reflecting like the things that happen in my life and how I managed to either overcome them or like, you know, implement those things into my everyday life. So I feel like for me, that's kind of what I've been doing since I started teaching. You know, thinking like, what did my teachers do that I needed that I can do for my kids? Or like the opposite, what didn't they do that I needed, but then I can be the change and then do that for them. So I feel like that's how a lot of the challenges that I have faced, that's how I have been perceiving them or like doing it. And then same thing in the opposite side, you know, using my life experiences to help shape who I am as a teacher.
Right. So what projects or initiatives are you currently involved in at Townview Law Magnet?
There's a few. So I'm the esports coach. So we practice every week and we go to 2 tournaments each year. I used to do the cooking club, but I've been busy with other things that I didn't do it this current year. So I'll probably try to go back into it. And it was like over Zoom, and then like kids got to share that with their parents, or if they couldn't do it with their parents, they did it by themselves, and they would like cook, and we will cook together, creating something different, which was good for me because I'm, you know, every day that they see me is usually like math. So it was like something fun that I enjoy doing. So I love cooking, and we just like posted the recipes afterwards, after we cooked, in case they wanted to redo it again. And then we started with like sending the list of ingredients. So they will buy everything before the meeting. And then as they are in the meeting, we're like chopping together, we're boiling things, like going over like what to do, how to do it. And it's funny because some of them don't even know how to hold a knife and they hold the knife wrong. So you're like still teaching, but like something completely out of my element that I don't get to do.
Yeah, it's something other than math.
Yes. And then the other thing that I do is I have a YouTube channel, Gay Math, where I have my videos that shows them how to do problems. So I feel like that's been fun to do because ever since my old school, I was like, I'm going to do my YouTube channel. I'm going to do my YouTube channel. But I was busy with other things. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, this is a perfect chance to like come up with something different because a lot of the kids were not connecting at the time to the Zoom meeting. So I was like, how are they going to get the material when there's 3 kids live and then nobody else is? So I have a couple of videos and I've been like slowly growing. I'm never going to go viral probably because I use them mainly for class. Like it's just for my kids. So I don't need 10,000 followers. I just need the followers in my class or my kids to watch the videos and learn from them. Okay. So that's been fun and different.
Okay.
How has your experience been so far teaching the new course of AP Pre-Calculus?
I mean, it's been very rough. I'm sure you know what it's like.
I know.
A lot of the material is something that we have never explored or never done it that way. So I feel like a lot of the challenges come from it just being completely new and being the first time. And I have high expectations for my kids, but I also have high expectations for me. Like, I don't want to see those AP scores and be embarrassed by them. So I feel like a lot of the pressure has been internal, like coming from me. Like, I want to do good. I want my kids to pass. I want them to get 3s, 4s, and 5s. Like, getting a 1 shouldn't even be an option. So I feel like I've been pressuring myself. And a lot of the things that I've been doing is like thinking about pre-calculus 24/7.
Yeah.
So I'm laying down in bed. I'm like, how can I explain this problem better? Or how can I do this? Because I've never done it before. I think I got so comfortable in teaching pre-calculus before when it was honors, where like I could do it in my sleep. So now it's been like a challenge. Like now I have to think. Now I have to like figure out new ways to explain things, things that they have never seen. And things that they're not going to fully understand has been like my struggle. 'Cause I'm like, how are they going to understand it when they don't have the mathematical tools that they need yet? But they will get there eventually. So a lot of the course have been focusing a lot on calculus, but I can't teach them calculus because I'm not a calculus teacher.
Yeah.
And if they do use calculus, they're not going to give them credit because they're using things that they shouldn't know yet. So I feel like that has been my biggest challenge. Like, how do I teach this class in a way that it makes sense and they fully understand and grasp the concepts without the calculus part?
Right.
But I think it's been fun teaching it. And it's the first year, so next year should be better for sure.
Definitely.
But for this year, I've just been like on the struggle bus the whole time. But like, hopefully my kids haven't seen that. I mean, I tell them sometimes like, yeah, I've been struggling with some things, but when you see me teaching, you will never know, like, oh, he's been thinking about this for 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all on that struggle boat right now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think the whole country is on the struggle.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's so true.
but once we get over the little hump of getting it done the first time, I feel like we're all going to be in a great place and be like, oh, we can do this. But just the unknown of, like, I don't know what the test looks like. I don't know what some of the questions or how they're going to be worded. I feel like that's what's keeping everybody on their toes. Like,
Yeah.
But once we see it, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Of course.
Or maybe
Hopefully.
it was. I don't know.
We'll see.
Find out in May.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll just come back and do another interview, I guess.
right.
No.
Fill us
A little follow-up interview.
follow-up interview.
Yep. How did the AP test go? And how many 3s, 4, 5s did we get? We're going to ignore the 1s.
Yeah, I'm aiming for a 3. So hopefully we get there.
3. Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully
least.
3.
Hopefully.
At least.
You're in my class.
Oh,
I don't think 3 is good enough.
my fault.
You meant 5,
Hopefully,
right?
yeah, hopefully 4 to 5. 4 to 5. 4 to 5 is where we rock.
Or 5 to 5. Either one.
5. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
So outside of the classroom, what are some achievements or projects that you're particularly proud of?
I feel like I've been focusing a lot on school lately that I haven't really gotten to do much because I used to be involved and be like an activist with the immigration community or like with LULAC.
Okay.
Like I did it for a while where I would like go help kids apply for their DACA or like do things like that. And I feel like I need to take some time out of my teaching and spend it doing that. But it will probably have to be next year because this year I'm focusing on that AP test. But yeah, I used to do a lot of volunteering and a lot of things like that will help the community. And then once I started teaching, I kind of got busy with teaching, and I was like, oh, I can spend my time with my kids, or I can spend my time in the community. And I feel like I need to go back into that. It doesn't have to be one or the other one.
Yeah.
So maybe I can spend more of my summer doing things like I used to do back in the day before I started teaching.
And I mean, this is only just because they added AP Pre-Calc this year. So, of course, like getting used to teaching those new things, and it's going to take some time out of your life until you get, like, you know, more used to teaching those sort of things. So maybe next year, like, it's going to be so much better and you'll
Walk
have
in the
more time
park.
for yourself. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun when I did it. I enjoyed helping the community and meeting people, and like, because I used to talk to everybody, and they would like come in with their little paperwork to fill out their applications and be like, oh, this is my application for my son, and like they will tell me a lot of like personal stuff as they were filling out. So I feel like I missed that part of my life because it was so important at the time. But you know, then I started teaching, and then it was like I either stay after school and do tutoring, or I go volunteer at this clinic helping people apply for DACA.
Yeah.
Like, and I felt like I needed to choose because I wanted to be the best teacher I could be. I didn't want to like, you know, give them a bad teacher, but then was over there volunteering 50 hours a week. Like, so I was like, let me focus on teaching and like doing the things that I need to be doing. And then later on I'll go back. But then, you know, things happen, and then COVID happened, and then they stopped doing applications. But I did make it to DC a few times to lobby and like meet with the representatives and things like that, the senators, and talk about why the DREAM Act was important. So I feel like I kind of missed that too. I did get to do a little bit after I started teaching, because one of the times I actually went with my students to DC. Like we went and we lobbied together, which was kind of weird for them because they probably had never seen a teacher being a dreamer with their kids that are also dreamers. So I feel like that was impactful for them.
Definitely.
We still don't have no DREAM Act, but we're hoping it'll be here soon.
All right, so you met the love of your life in Las Vegas. Can you tell us a little bit about some memories from that day?
I mean, it was your typical Vegas wedding, officiated by an Elvis impersonator in a Vegas hotel. Like, so that was fun, but that's what we wanted. Like, we wanted it to be like a stereotypical Vegas wedding. So we actually ended up planning our wedding in like 2 months, which is crazy because it happened in Vegas. So I had to like be calling people, emailing people, like reserving the place and like the food and the cake and all those things. But at the end of the day, it was worth it. Like it was one of the happiest days of our lives, and like we got exactly what we wanted. Because people are like, "Oh, you got married in Vegas?" I'm like, no, it wasn't like a drive-through wedding. Like I was not about to do all that. Like I needed a formal wedding. I think we had about 30 friends that ended up going.
Okay.
With like a 3-week notice. So
3 weeks.
But they made it.
Crazy.
they made it. Like we have cool people in our lives that put the priority in being there and spending time with them. Because when we were planning, we were like, it's so short notice. We're probably gonna have like 10 people. But we ended up with like about 30 something. There were some strangers that we met in Vegas at the pool, and they ended up coming to our wedding.
That's so fun.
Because they were from Waco, so they were like they were talking, and then somehow the wedding came up, and they were like, "Oh, we've never been to a wedding in Vegas," and we were like,
It's like, let's pull
Come
up.
over.
"Exactly, like this
Show
is a
up.
perfect chance to go to a Vegas wedding." So they showed up, and I feel like everything was memorable. Like there's not one thing that sticks out. Like everything from the beginning of the trip till the end of the trip was a really good thing. So yeah.
That's really good. So where do you see yourself changing in the way you teach in the future? Are there any new strategies that you are trying to, pick up?
I mean, for me, teaching is always ever changing. I feel like if you like settle down and like do the same thing, you're not gonna be successful. Because whatever works for a group of kids is not gonna work for another group of kids 10 years later down the road. So for me, it has been changing slightly. Like there shouldn't be a dramatic change where you completely do a 180 and then do the complete opposite. But I feel like a lot of the strategies, some of them could be applied throughout my whole career, and then some of them have been changing. Technology always changes, so I feel like you have to keep up with technology as well. So the more technology that you use, I feel like the better you can relate to the kids, and the kids can relate to the subject. So to me, I feel like that's the thing that should be changing the most. Like, how am I using technology in the classroom to help my kids?
So speaking of technology, how are you like keeping up with the new trends of today's time?
I'm not, because I don't have time. But like I said, I mean, in class we do use some like online software to do homework. It gives them examples, it gives them videos. Like I use my YouTube channel to like put some of the stuff out there that I want them to focus on or to know. But like the trends, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna spend my day on TikTok to figure out what the next trend is. Like I got to teach.
Right.
I got AP pre-calculus in my mind 24/7. So those TikTok trends, they'll die off eventually either way.
They definitely do.
They do.
I'm like, do I want to spend my day keeping up with them and my brain filled with nonsense, or do I want to keep it filled with AP pre-calculus and how to teach them whatever trend is going on in my head? Those are the trends that I care about, the mathematical ones, not the social ones.
But I mean, even doing YouTube is already going the extra mile for your students, because there's not a lot of teachers who will make a YouTube channel to teach whatever they're, to give their students more, how would you say that, like,
Resources.
Yeah.
More
to-
resources.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm sure y'all know how long it takes to create, edit, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
So like, because it's a 10-minute video, but that video took an hour. Because I have to like pre-work the problems out, figure out how I'm gonna explain it, and then actually record the lesson. And then I'm kind of a perfectionist. Like I'm like, I said it right, but it didn't sound as good as I wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I spent 3 hours recording
we
over and
know.
over
I know
again.
that feeling, yeah.
I
And
feel you on
then
that one.
and then when I'm done, I have 20 videos, and then I'm taking little pieces, and then it's like, oh, I got 30 seconds from here, and then I got a minute from here. Obviously, as I got better, it got better where I was like, okay, I need to kind of create a script in my head and then think to myself what I'm going to say, and then I could do them usually in like 2 or 3 takes.
Oh.
But like even then, it's like, 'cause some of them don't care. They're like, oops, I made a mistake. Let me scratch it off and move on. For me, I was like, no, I can't have that. Like,
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Let me start the problem again, or let me find a good stopping point for my video so I can restart that part of the problem. And I feel like that was part of the problem. Like,
Yeah.
I should just have been like, oh, well, made a mistake, sorry. But I was like, no, I don't want to put that out there with my name attached to it. I wanted it to be perfect.
We completely understand that. Definitely.
I'm sure y'all do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, even if you have to re-record 6 times, it's like,
Yeah.
it has to be perfect. So
Exactly.
I'm sure your viewers appreciate it too.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, we
Hopefully,
definitely.
yeah.
So do you have any plans for furthering your education or pursuing advanced degrees?
So to me, and I'm probably going to get some backlash later, but to me, you become a better teacher by teaching. Like, so for me, getting a degree in education, in my point of view, I don't think it would be helpful.
Like real world experiences.
Yeah,
better than-
like if you compare what I learned in my 5 years of college to my first 2 years of actually teaching, I guess which one I learned more?
first 2 years
Actually
teaching.
Like actually teaching. So
Like
for
90
me,
day.
if I want to get a degree, it's because I'm leaving teaching. Like I'm getting a degree in something else. I'm pursuing a new career. Because to me, like just doing and being a teacher is what makes me a better teacher. And that's kind of how I thought about it my whole career. Like I don't want to spend thousands of dollars getting a master's
Yeah.
when like, am I really going to learn from somebody?
Right.
Or am I going to learn from my kids? Because
That's true.
at the end of the day, everything that I do is for my kids. So who's going to give me better feedback and better techniques and better strategies to use than the ones that are actually using them? So every time I think about, oh, what could I do? I don't see myself doing anything else. So for the meantime, I'm like, I'll just keep my degree and continue learning from my kids. Because I could do a degree and like be an assistant principal, but then I won't see my kids anymore. I won't spend time with my kids. I won't be able to talk to them, see them every day. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I'll still be helping people, but not at the same level. So for me, I want to be with them, spend time with them, and teach them, and like see the little light bulb. And when I'm an AP, I don't want to see somebody else get that light bulb. I want the light bulb for me. 'Cause I'm a little bit selfish. You know? I want to feel like I'm making a difference.
So you would say that being connected to your students is something that you really value
Yeah, like
a lot.
it's one of the main reasons why I do what I do. Like just to be around the kids and help them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you said that you want to teach them like life lessons, not just teach them math, and just connecting to them, even telling you like at the beginning of the school year when you tell them like a bit about your life story. And then when your students come to talk to you at the end of class and stuff. It's really good to have a teacher like that.
Or when you see them in tutoring and they're like
That's it.
struggling, and then at some point they're like, "Oh, I get it," and I'm like, "Okay, I
I
did my job for today." But like if I'm an IP, I'm dealing with adults most of the time.
Yeah, the
I mean,
staff,
do we
not
like
the
adults?
students.
Like, you know, they love when you tell them what to do. So I'm like, especially being on the younger side, like a lot of them deal with older teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them are really bad about taking feedback.
Oh,
And they're like, how are you going to tell me how to do my job when I've been doing it for 30 years?
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, well, you've been doing it wrong for 30 years.
Let's not even get started with that.
But like, how do you say that in a nice way?
so maybe go a
So-
different direction.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I'm doing it. But like, if it's my students, I'm not going to be like, you've been doing it your whole life wrong.
Yeah.
Their life has also been shorter, so it's okay.
Yeah.
True.
And they got enough time to fix it. If you're in your 60s, you're on your way out. So. Can't teach
better
old dog
learn
new
soon.
tricks. Like,
You're almost out of time.
Oh my God.
I mean, not at
Got a little
60,
dark.
maybe at 95,
Almost.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Give him more time.
just a little bit.
So, looking ahead, how do you envision balancing your professional ambitions with your personal life aspirations, including your role as a husband and also as a pet parent?
So I feel like a lot of my inspirations have to do with school. Like for me, my biggest dream has always been to be the best teacher that I can be. And every year I feel like I get a little better. And I'm never going to, like I said, I have high expectations. So it's not like I'm ever going to reach the point where I'm like, okay, I'm the best teacher ever or the best teacher that I can be. I'm done. I don't have to grow anymore. So for me, that's kind of like the biggest thing. And ever since I started, I kind of wanted to have a good balance between life in school and then outside of school. So I try not to take too much work home. I try to spend as much time with, my family as I can, because that's never coming back. But at the same time, I'm not going to do a disservice to my kids and be like, oh, it's 4:30, let me go be out the door. So the way that I kind of been compromising is by saying 2 days a week and then coming in the mornings. So I use a lot of my morning time to do preparation. So that way I don't take a lot of work home.
Yeah.
And if I do, I try to like limit it to a short amount of time. So maybe I work 30 minutes one day. And when I do it, I usually do it in my couch with my
Yeah.
family there with me. So we'll be watching a show and I'll be watching, but I'm working or like take little breaks in between and talk. And that way I'm not in school 24/7. Because I feel like some people do that and then they get to miss out on some of the time with their family that they're never getting back.
That's true.
So ever since I started, I was like, I ain't bringing no papers home unless I absolutely have to. I'm planning my lessons in the time that I'm in school, and I'm doing a lot of the things with my kids. So like, hey, grade this paper, like grade your own paper. So that way I don't have to spend 30, 40 minutes grading each class. Because when you add up the time that it takes to grade one paper, and then you multiply that by 150, 160 students total, you're spending a lot of your time grading. But at the same time, I'm like, why not have the kids grade their own paper and learn from their mistakes?
Okay.
Have you had a TA before?
I do, but,
you do.
but there's some things that the TAs can't do.
Yeah.
Well,
Am
that
I going to be
makes
like, here, create this test for me?
sense. No.
Nah,
I meant like grading like assignments. Like
They help out
Yeah,
a
they
lot. So that has also been helping me. But, like the things that I have to do, I
Yeah.
try to limit them to do them in this building. So I'm like, I'd rather get up early and be here at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
than be here until 7. Because am I really going to get home at 7 and then like do a little bit of time with my family and then go to sleep?
Yeah.
Like, then am I really living or am I just living to work at that point?
Yeah.
So I want a good balance throughout my life.
Okay.
And I feel like I've been pretty successful at it. Like, not overkilling myself with work, but also doing enough where I'm giving the kids what they need.
Are there any specific goals you have for your career in the next 5 years?
I mean, I think all my career's goals focus on being a good teacher. Like I said before, I don't see myself doing anything else, and I don't see myself doing anything else in education either. Like, I don't want to be an assistant principal, maybe an instructional coach, but if it came with a few classes attached to it, where I was like part instructional coach, part teacher, maybe I'll be okay with giving up some of the classes because I will still get to interact with the kids and do the things that I like to do, and then at the same time do a little bit more of helping other professionals like do their job better. So I feel like it has to be a 50-50 at least. Anything more than that, like, I don't want to do anything.
So do you have any final words of motivation for your students or viewers that are watching today?
I mean, just to love math. Like, math is fun. And I feel like a lot of the people don't like math because they haven't been successful at it in their previous years. So they kind of have that trauma of like, oh, I'm bad at math, or I can't do math. But if you get out of the I can't do math mentality and into the I can do math, I'm good at math, I feel like that will make a world of a difference. Because I've had kids that hated math before my class. And then they might still hate it a little bit, but they just hate it less.
Hate a little less.
It's getting better.
Yeah, like, I used to hate it. I didn't want to do any math. And now,
It's manageable now.
yeah, or sometimes I feel a little excited to do math, right? Like, but usually those excitement comes from them being successful.
Definitely.
So once they're successful and they taste that success, then they're like more likely to come back and like try again.
That is
So they can
definitely
get
true.
the little rush again of, oh, I can do math. So I feel like we just need to be in that positive mentality of I can be successful in anything I put my mind to it, whether it's math or any other subject. I feel like we'll be in a better place, which is what I try to do. Like, I try not to lose my patience. I try not to scream at my kids. So at the end of the day, they're kids, right? Like, they're 17, 18-year-old. They might think they're adults, but they're still kids.
Yeah.
And in my mind, they'll always be kids. Because, like, I mentor some of my older kids that have graduated, and then I'm thinking, like, why are they doing this? I'm like, oh, wait, they're 24, 25. But in my mind, they're always going to be 18,
Yeah.
which is usually, like, the last time I see them in person. Or, like, I see them, like, a few times. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're still 18. But no, they're not. Some of them are already teachers. So,
Oh, wow.
Okay.
and then one of them, I was talking to her the other day, and like I was helping her get her first job out of college. So I feel like doing those things is what keeps me going and keeps me wanting to be in the classroom. I wouldn't get that anywhere else. Like, I don't want to sit in an office crunching numbers in a calculator. I'm like, who am I helping at that point, other than the rich get richer? Like, they don't need me. They'll be rich with or without me. But my kids, like, they need me. I want them to be more successful with me than with somebody else.
All right.
So now we have a couple of fun questions for you. Your dogs are named Rex and Siggy. What inspired you to choose those names?
So we actually pick one name each. So I picked Siggy because the owner of the current house where we lived, when we were looking at the paperwork, one of the names on there was Siggy. And I was like, Siggy sounds like a dog name. And I was like, when I get a dog, I'm going to name my dog Siggy. And
So
then-
that name was pre-planned.
Yes, because it was like a week before. It wasn't anything crazy because we got her right after we moved in. But I was like, the last owner of the house was named Siggy, so the new owner of the house is gonna be named Siggy. So she thinks she's in charge and she thinks she's the boss. So it
Yeah,
fits right in
I
with
have
her
a dog like that.
personality. And then Rex, I think we were looking at names online, and then he wanted like a short name because he thinks that dogs do better when they're one syllable or two. So he was like, I need a short name. So let me go online and look at dogs' names. So he saw thousands of them, and then he liked Rex. So that's how Rex ended up with his name, which, as you know, probably means king. So we got the king, and then we got the queen.
So
named Siggy.
what breeds are your dogs?
One of them is a blue heeler. So she's very loud, and she loves to bark, and is very energetic, and loves to play fetch. She could play fetch for hours if you let her. And the other one is like a mutt he's mixed with everything.
Oh.
There's like Lab, Akita.
Oh.
There's like 8 different breeds, and then there's a
Fluffy
few more that
dog.
they couldn't figure out what they were using the DNA test.
He's a fluffy dog, huh? He has hair.
He has long hair, but it's like straight and like it's not soft.
Yeah.
Both of them have like similar. His is a little bit thicker, but texture-wise, like they're about the same. But they're both lovely dogs, and very sweet. Even though some of them get a little turned off by the loud one, 'cause her bark is like so high pitched, and she loves to bark. But she's very sweet. Like when we're alone, usually she's very calm. And she'll be cuddling with you, or like laying down by your feet. But when there's new people around, she gets a little too excited. But we love them both.
So I wanted to ask you if you had anywhere to go in the world without like a spending limit, like where would you want to travel? Because I want to travel in the future. I want to go everywhere.
I mean, I think I would do like a tour of different places. Like I don't think I would do one place for 2 weeks,
Like a cruise?
especially on limited budget. I'm like, send me on a plane from place to place and go all over the world. I love to travel too, and I really haven't gotten the chance to do a lot of traveling internationally, but hopefully in the next few months I'll be able to, get the little green card finally after 22 years of waiting and travel to other places. But I'll probably like make a stop in Mexico and go all through South America. And then
Sounds
like
fun.
maybe go to Europe for a little bit.
It's cool.
Because I've been wanting to go to Spain. So that's one of my next places that I want to visit. Just something different. But it's still the same language. Like you're far away, but you're still speaking Spanish. But yeah, I want to go all through South America and visit a lot of the countries.
Okay.
So we have a thing where we get to pick. We're going to get to pick one place each. So we'll alternate in between. So I picked Mexico first. So I actually had the opportunity to go back to Mexico after 22 years back in November. So that was exciting for me. So he was like, okay, that was your pick. And I was like, well,
That was your pick. That was it.
I'm like, that was a non-negotiable, but sure, you get to pick the next one. So he picked Colombia next.
Oh,
Okay.
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 So should be going to Colombia first, and then I get to pick. Which I said I want to go to Spain, and then we'll alternate again.
Yeah,
And
alternate.
I haven't thought about it that much, what I'm picking after Spain, but I'm sure there's plenty of places to go.
Definitely. How about France? Paris?
I want to do Switzerland.
The UK? I always want to go to the UK.
Netherlands?
I mean, there's a lot of cool places to go.
Yeah.
But I'm a teacher, so that teacher salary can only get you so far.
Okay, so this wraps up our interview. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Araiza. We are grateful for your time and knowledge you have shared with us. To our listeners, we hope you found Mr. Araiza's educational journey insightful. Follow us on all our social media platforms for more content and discussions like this. Remember to stay awesome, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you for listening to KSBM Radio, the voice of Townview.
My radio station.
We hope you enjoyed the great content and great discussion, all from a student's perspective. Make sure to follow us on Twitter for the latest updates at KSBM_TVT or on Facebook at KSBM Radio.
Add them on Facebook.
Check them on Facebook. Take care.